I generally like to say that I'm 3 years and 8 months older than my 51 years, because that's how long I've been alive after I actually died. I'm Penny Holbrook, and I'm just absolutely blessed and delighted to be here tonight and to share my lived experience and my story. I might do the old glasses actually, sorry. I was barely a preschooler when I started visiting psychiatric hospitals, sitting in the corridors of Callum Park, hoping to get a chance glance at my mother, who had been diagnosed with manic depressant, now bipolar, a disorder that was to be passed down to me genetically. And whilst today I'm well, in control, and so blessed to be here, it hasn't all been smooth sailing. In September 1991, my mother completed her suicide and my world turned upside down. I just couldn't fathom that it had come to this. My older sister had just begun her chemotherapy a week prior, and I thought, how could a mother leave her child to fight cancer on her own? However, my mum had already lost one daughter, and I believe that the thought of losing another, along with her mental health issues, was far too great for me to fully understand. Yet 24 years later, I decided to take my own life, to leave behind my children, my partner, my ex-husband, and all that loved me. And what a journey that has been. That day began on Monday, the 23rd of February, 2015, and it began like this. Take the keys. Take the goddamn keys. I blasted at my partner. He was being operated on at Manly Hospital that morning, and I was insistent that he take the keys, as he was that he took nothing personal. Backwards and forwards, a few times we threw the keys across the bonnet of the car, over the roof, and landing in the unpacked boxes. I retrieved them, blasting and insisting that he took them, knowing full well that if he didn't, he wouldn't get back into our house, our brand new home. A home that we'd only been living in for 3 days. It had taken us 18 months of weekend after weekend to find our loving sanctuary. And after 10 weeks of living in a rented place, our home was ready for our next adventure. A silent drive to the hospital, almost in a zombie trance-like state. He got out and I said goodbye. With a kiss, he was gone. And I remember sitting there for just a few moments, and I said to myself out loud, I'll never see you again. Goodbye. I knew that once he was out of the car, I could commence my journey out of here, off this earth, to end the pain that I was in. I drove home silently. I can remember seeing a friend as I drove past her, and I consciously said goodbye to her. Arriving home, it was still very, very early. I had a shower and then proceeded to choose something pretty to die in. My sparkly dress. Yes, that will be perfect. I've always liked a bit of bling. Having been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, PTSD, and an eating disorder in the early 2000s, I had been on so many medications over the years, and I'd gathered a very large excess supply of them. Those and some very good parliamentary wine, this should be sufficient. I need a bag and a change of clothes. What the hell do I want with a change of clothes? I wanted that for the mortician. Yet, I'm an ex-funeral director and a mortician myself. I'd planned it that way, so that nobody had to choose what I was going to be cremated in. All done. I had no plans that morning where I was going. I didn't know where I was going from here, our brand new home. Time was ticking away, and I had to leave. He was already under an anaesthetic, and I needed to be very, very dead. And I needed sufficient time to complete my suicide successfully before anyone noticed that I was even missing. Ready to go. I closed the front door behind me. Goodbye, house. Sorry, I won't be back. It's all his. To think that he would have stayed there following this event was just ludicrous. Thank goodness that nobody else in the complex is home, so nobody sees me leave. I need money for a hotel stay, so I stop at the bank. Casually speaking to the bank manager, he guides me through the ATM to withdraw $1,000. That should cover my expenses for the day. Thanking him, I walk into the supermarket. A packet of salt and vinegar chips. That'll go nicely with my red wine. Speaking with the register lady, first name basis and known to me, she asks, "How is my day?" "It can only get better from here," I reply. How calm and composed one can act, yet death is only a few hours away. Back to the car. I once again go on autopilot. The car just basically drives itself and follows a path to my work when I come across a sign that says accommodation. I'm at the Parkway Hotel. That'll do it. It doesn't have to be fancy to die in. And I knew that my favourite escape in Terrigal would be far too obvious for anyone to ever find me. It's now only 10:10. I walk into the reception. "Good morning." I greet the gentleman behind the counter with enthusiasm. "Just visiting my parents, close by, and I need a room for the night." He explained that check-in was 2 p.m. Oh dear, I thought. This is not part of my plan. And that does make things hard, I mentioned to him. "Hang on," he says. "Let me see what I can do." A quick phone call and 10-minute wait, and room number 4 is all mine. Right, back to the car. For the last time, I switch the phone off, I check it, I switch it off. A triangulation would definitely be done on my phone. My partner is a police officer, and I don't want it bouncing off the closest tower. Done. It's a basic of room, a double bed, a lounge, a desk, a chair, and a shower that should have been ripped out in the 1970s. Still, it's all I needed. Right, close the curtains and barricade the door. What was that about? Like, seriously, barricading the door? It was so flimsy. The morning show is on. Larry and Kylie. Whilst they make a piece of toast and a cup of coffee. Right now, it's time to unpack my pills and get organised. I'm conscious of the time slipping by before the hospital starts ringing me to collect him. I pour myself a good glass of red. Carefully popping out the pills onto the bedside table, there is a great concoction of over 600 pills. That will surely do it. Now a note. I sit at the desk and draft a letter firstly to my children, one by one, then to my ex-husband and his partner. I start briefly to my partner now. God, what do I say? Thinking it's time to start taking the pills and another glass of red, 300 pills down, and I place 2 Stanley knives on the bed. I've been a cutter in the past, and although I wasn't overly confident in cutting through my wrist now, as I'd had quite a few pills. I feel a bit tired, but heck, let's take another 300 pills, just to make sure. My head is now saying goodbye to everyone. Goodbye. Wait, it's time to rate more to my partner. However, it's too late. My head is spinning and I need to lay down. I'll come back to it, but I don't. It's left there where it was, with a slurred line through it. For some bizarre reason, I get into the shower. However, I have no recollection of this. I don't remember taking off my clothes. However, now years later, I vaguely remember standing under the water and then reaching for the toilet as my body shuts down. I fall over that damn shower hob and smash my face first into the toilet rim and the floor. And that's it. That's where I laid for the next 11 hours, naked on my leg and stopping the circulation, and my face completely broken. The hospital is ringing. He's ready to be collected, his surgery over and completed. Obviously, no answer. They try several times. Then he starts ringing. Pen, where are you? I need to be picked up and all went well. Call me back. Pen, it's me again. Pick up. He calls his mate, another police officer, and explains the situation. Once home, he calls my children. Have you spoken to your mother today? He calls my ex-husband, then friends. He knew that something was seriously wrong. They were all out searching for me as night fell. He then tried to report me missing. Even as a police officer, he was told I hadn't been missing long enough. North Head, car parks, ovals, local accommodation. When finally my ex-husband spots my car, he phones through to my then partner. I think I've found her car. He gives him the rego plate. Yep, that's it. My ex-husband explains that I'm probably just having some time out, which he had experienced many times throughout our marriage, and advised him just to let me be. However, my partner knew it wasn't okay. He arrived soon after with his fellow friend and police officer, firstly feeling the car to see whether the engine was still warm, and hoping I had just arrived. However, it was very cold. A small crack in the curtains with a flashing TV was enough for him to see my belongings. Due to him only having surgery that morning, his mate kicked in that damn flimsy door. Nothing. Then he went into the bathroom to find my lifeless body, still drenched and blue, not breathing. They dragged me out of that room and commenced CPR while they dialed 000. Nothing. No breath. No movement. They continue their instructions by the operator. They get a small sound of breath, which my partner believed was just an air pocket being released, as deceased bodies do. But somehow, by some chance, it was one small breath. The paramedics have now arrived, and I am incubated and bundled into an ambulance. My son has now arrived at the scene and is sitting for just a few moments in the back of that ambulance telling me how much he loves me. It's really weird not knowing any of this, and heartbreaking. Transferred to Royal North Shore Hospital, my partner, his work colleagues, my children, my ex-husband are all in emergency. MRI scans, CTs, X-rays, every conceivable test was done. Nothing. My partner was then pulled aside and told that they were very, very sorry for his loss and I wasn't going to make it. It had just been too long. I was then placed on life support as I could not breathe on my own. I stayed like this for a week, with my partner barely leaving my side. My face unrecognisable, swollen that even my eyes had closed over, tubes everywhere, machines helping me to stay alive. As days went by, they held no hope that I would ever wake up. However, by some miracle, a week later, my nurse noticed that I wiggled my toe and flickered my eyes. Everyone was called back in, not knowing how this was going to work out. It was either the final moments of my life, or maybe just a glimmer of hope. This is where I regained consciousness. I'm choking on the tubes and ventilator. All I can feel is tubes now being pulled out of my throat. Oh my God, I'm alive. I'm crying. I can feel the wetness of my tears running down my cheek. I see my partner on my right and my kids at the end of my bed. Who the hell resuscitated me, I said. I did. My partner says as he's sobbing, I did. I couldn't even kill myself properly. I'd failed yet again. The story of my life, or so I thought. I thought that I'd failed at being a mother, a grandmother, a wife, an ex-wife, a partner and a future wife. I slipped quietly back to sleep. Everything seems to be working, or everything seems to them to be working at this stage. How this is possible is just unbelievable from doctors and as they transposed that to my family. The following day I was transferred into a ward, albeit with a 24-hour guard on me. Boy, was this challenging for the next 5 weeks. Every time I showered or went to the toilet, they were there. Joy, oh joy. Due to the length of time that I'd laid unconscious on the bathroom floor and laying on my leg, further complications began to set in. I had no circulation in my right leg and was unable to walk. More MRI scans, etc., etc. I then was set the challenge of learning to walk again. It was at this stage, which was weeks down the line, that I looked in the mirror for the first time. Oh my God, my face is covered in scars and scabs. I can remember saying to my daughter, "Why hadn't you told me that I'd look this bad?" Her reply was, "Mum, you look good. You look good compared to what you were weeks ago." I hate to think just how scary it must have been to see me as I was connected to machines keeping me alive. For what? Not to have any brain activity, to lie there till they turn the machines off? What? I remember questioning my partner as to whether they had discussed turning off those machines. Thankfully, no. Blissfully, no. Because I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here sharing my story. I wouldn't be here helping to raise funds for Australians for mental health, to help change the stigma of suicide, to help save a life. Even if it's just one, then I've made a difference. It was a lengthy journey from Royal North Shore Hospital. I was transferred to East Wing in Manly, which was the most horrendous experience of my life, and begged on a daily basis to get out of there. I was waiting for a bed in a private hospital, which came up 4 days later. I was transferred out to the Hills Private Hospital, and this is where my true, real healing began. Another few months there, and I finally came home to a place, remembering where I had only lived for 3 days. My partner had spent all this time unpacking all the boxes, decorating the house, and making it perfect for me. I eventually returned to work, slowly, a few days a week, before I was strong enough to return to full-time work. Does it take a toll on the people you love? Damn right it does. My partner and I separated a year later, and to this day my children still struggle, as does he. Since then, I have had another bad relapse and reverted to alcohol and prescription drugs, until the point of my body beginning to shut down again at 40 kilos and in the fetal position for days on my bedroom floor. My kids arrive, and whilst getting up, I spear into the ground, splitting my head open. Off I go again. Hospital, stitches, rehab. It's at this point that I know it can't continue. I'll either die or I have to dig myself out of this pit once and for all. That was my last trip to rehab, and now I'm in love with life. I'm a strong, independent woman. I'm not here to save the world, but I'm certainly here to try and change how we can prevent our loved ones from making this tragic decision, and supporting them in helpful ways to move forward with a happy, fulfilling life. Thank you.
Really awesome. Well done. Oh, well done. Well done.
Huh? Thank you. Blessed. Blessed. You're going to make me wow. I'm glad she put waterproof mascara on me tonight. Thank you. It's an absolute joy to share my story. It's still overwhelming even to me. There's people in this room that I've known for a very long time. There's people in this room that I went to school with that I've reconnected with 20, 30 years down the track. And it's a joy to share my story with you, Wayne, and have you back in my life. So thank you. To Liliana and Cunningham's, I've worked with Lil for a really long time. We began our real estate lives at 18 in Harbord, and Lil was one of my bridesmaids at my wedding. So we go back a really long time. And it's a real joy, Lil, to have you here and your fantastic new team, Cunningham's DY. So please support them, and it's just fantastic to have the support and love of everyone here. And enjoy the rest of the night. Thank you for letting me share my story. And let's change that stigma. Let's raise as much funds as we can, and let's stop suicide throughout this country. Thank you.
Well done.